If we are one, how do we deal with the madness and volatility of these times while simultaneously striving to find spiritual awakening, balance, and awareness as divine sparks of all that is? How do we deal with the unbridled outrage and anger felt by so many passionate souls confronting the gross inequities being exposed to us in our world every day? As more and more of the dark energies are getting pushed out of the shadows and into the light of profound truth for all to see, the sheer rage and horror of things that have suppressed us and kept us feeling small and without power for so long are now being seen for what they truly are: the illusions of power by those who truly have none. But if we are one, how do we rectify and reconcile the seemingly negative energies of anger, often justifiable, into the more preferred spiritual energies of love and, by extension, forgiveness? How do we balance our energies in such a way as to rise above the fray and become the true spiritual masters we are all awakening to be? How do we remain unfettered by the external chaos and live in the eye of the storm, moving through the eye of the needle? Hi, I'm Daryl T. Johnson, a musician, a teacher, and a QHHT hypnosis practitioner. I'd like to welcome you all to episode 9 of If We Are One. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. In this episode, we are going to discuss anger and spirituality and whether or not these two dynamics are mutually exclusive. You know, dealing with anger, especially in the midst of global turmoil, requires both inner awareness and compassionate action. When coming into a clearer understanding of this emotional expression from a spiritual perspective, anger isn't something you need to repress, but something to understand and transform. It can be a signal calling for alignment with deeper values such as peace, justice, and connection. Managing anger holds profound spiritual significance, as it is often viewed as both a path toward inner healing and a demonstration of spiritual maturity. Spiritual traditions suggest that anger, when managed thoughtfully, helps individuals uncover and heal old wounds, enables honest self-expression, and cultivates qualities such as self-control and compassion. With anger, especially from a spiritually conscious perspective, it is important to try and shift one's awareness to become the observer as it is happening. Easier said than done, I know. To monitor your feelings and, more importantly, to identify your triggers. Also, it is important to forgive yourself for the anger after it has happened. But most importantly, one must understand that anger is a natural process of realigning yourself back into spiritual balance. The knee-jerk reaction of anger is a natural process of misalignment back into realignment. From a physiological point of view, this anger should not last more than about 15 to 20 seconds. From there, it is a natural propensity for the body to begin to find its way back to calm. But if it lingers longer than that, there is a good probability that you are no longer dealing with anger, but moving into the realm of judgment. Anger turns into judgment when it moves beyond a reaction to an event and becomes a lens through which we assess others, assign blame, and define situations as wrong or bad based on our perceptions. This shift often happens when anger fuels certainty about who is at fault and attaches to narratives of blame or even moral superiority. So the observer in you needs to do an honest self-assessment as to where this judgment is coming from and consciously move away from this, hopefully in the direction of forgiveness. Now, from the perspective of inner healing, anger frequently arises from unresolved emotional pain and serves as a trigger to explore areas in life where healing is needed. Addressing anger constructively, people are invited to reflect deeply on what is wounded within themselves and can begin the transformative process of forgiveness, compassion, and reconciliation. When talking about anger from a spiritual perspective, learning to manage anger rather than suppress it or act on it impulsively represents growth in self-mastery and leadership. For example, biblical teachings note that being slow to anger is better than the mighty, emphasizing that self-control is a fruit of spiritual progress. As people develop this discipline, they are empowered to respond to challenges with grace and wisdom. Anger, if managed properly, allows individuals to express repressed truths and helps prevent the buildup of toxic emotions. Honest expression in a safe spiritual context, like meditation or prayer, enables deeper self-understanding and connection with the divine. This openness transforms anger into an opportunity for prayer, surrender, and peaceful resolution. Spiritually, anger can even be seen as an expression of compassion, a force that moves people to uphold sacred boundaries or stand up for what is right. When harnessed consciously, anger invites individuals to act with integrity and justice without succumbing to destructive behaviors. Managing anger is thus seen as a vital practice for spiritual well-being, serving as an opportunity for healing, growth, and living in harmony with spiritual values. But when does anger become judgment? And how does one avoid becoming judgmental after experiencing anger? Well, anger can become judgment when it shifts from a feeling of being wronged or hurt to making negative or moral assessments about others, their worth, or their motives. Anger alone is a natural emotional response, but when it leads to condemning, blaming, and labeling others, it transforms into judgment, a process that clouds truth, distorts perception, and threatens integrity. So how do we make that transition from anger to judgment? Anger originates as reaction to perceived wrongs. It signals that something does not align with one's value or sense of justice. The judgment occurs when anger moves beyond internal awareness and drives external condemnation or comparison, deciding someone or something is bad, unworthy, or deserving of punishment. Spiritually, this shift resonates with a mindset of duality, separating individuals into good and bad, rather than seeking understanding, compassion, or oneness. So from a spiritual perspective, it is important to catch yourself before moving into these dark areas of judgment that serve no one and hurts everyone. We can do this by practicing self-awareness. Pause before reacting and observe the anger as a cue to look inward, identifying personal triggers and underlying emotions. Choose discernment over condemnation. Reflect on the situation without labeling or comparing, instead of focusing on others' faults. Focus on understanding your emotional response. Why are you acting this way or responding the way that you are? Cultivate compassion. Remind yourself that everyone faces challenges and acts from their own wounds, which helps move beyond blame towards empathy. If need be, seek spiritual guidance. Prayer, meditation, or contemplation can help to release judgment and open space for forgiveness and understanding. I remember in my own struggle and movement through anger, I would usually have a pretty long fuse, but when I got to that point of anger where I couldn't take it any longer, it felt like a pressure cooker, a caldera going off in my head and in my heart. My reaction was quick and intense, like 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. It would more often than not only occur when I felt as if I were being wrongly accused of something, or that a major injustice of some kind had taken place. But over time, I realized something very important, that from a spiritual perspective, it is not the situation that is important. It never is. It is how you respond to it. Moreover, how quickly can you get back to center? I remember that I am the observer, moving through the experience of the stage play unfolding right in front of me. I ask myself, what is this situation here to teach me? Every experience that we go through is, from a spiritual perspective, an opportunity for growth. So, like all opportunities, reframe anger as a tool for awareness, not as a weapon for judgment. Ask yourself, what is this anger trying to teach me about myself or my situation, rather than who's to blame? It's important to recognize that as a spiritual being having a human experience, and from the standpoint that we are all sparks of the one, any experience that you have with someone else often becomes a mirror for you to see yourself in a different light. There's a saying that I remember that goes, when you point your finger at someone else, 3 more fingers are pointing back at you. Just something to consider. Through these practices of self-awareness, one can transform anger into an opportunity for personal growth and spiritual maturity, keeping judgment at bay and maintaining integrity with self and with others. There are some best practices that I came across and I want to share with you so that you can use them as tools, short daily exercises that can help reduce judgmental thinking and cultivate a more open, compassionate mindset. Some of these practical techniques include mindful meditation, taking 5 to 10 minutes a day to sit quietly and just observe your thoughts without labeling them as good or bad. When judgmental thoughts arise, simply note that as just a thought. And gently return attention to your breathing. Rewriting judgments. Whenever you catch yourself judging, pause and rephrase the thought objectively. For example, turn "he's so obnoxious" into I notice that his behavior makes me feel really irritated. This helps separate emotion from negative labeling. Journaling exercises. Write down repeated judgmental thoughts and how they affect you. Then imagine life without the judgment and describe how you would feel differently. This increases self-awareness and acceptance, and it also fosters change. Now this one is interesting. Body scan meditation. Spend a few minutes focusing attention on each body part, noticing sensations without judgment. You're just observing. This cultivates awareness and helps interrupt habitual negative thinking. A values check-in. Start your day by reflecting on personal values and intentions, focusing on actions that align with your authentic self rather than approval from others. This shifts your focus from judgment to purpose. Visualization exercises. I love these. Picture yourself removing judgmental lenses through which you view yourself and others. Consciously choose to see experiences with curiosity and openness. Practicing even one or two of these exercises daily builds greater non-judgmental awareness and supports a more accepting approach to yourself and to others. Spiritually, practices like mindful awareness, self-reflection, and showing compassion can help create a pause before anger solidifies into judgment. This way you can address the emotion without immediately constructing narratives that separate or blame, reduce the risk of anger becoming a feedback loop of perpetual judgment. There is one more thing that I would really like to emphasize here. As we move forward within the conscious recognition of ourselves as spiritual beings having a human experience, we must move through life as the observer. Becoming the observer is a major key in our spiritual practice to transform your relationship with anger. It means that we need to cultivate our awareness so as to see anger as a passing emotion, not as your identity or truth. This shift starts with recognizing anger in your body and mind as soon as it appears. Pausing before reaction. This is so important. And witnessing the emotion without judgment or blame. Notice anger as a sensation or energy in the body. Mentally label it. This is anger arising in me, instead of I am angry. Focus on your breath. Slow, conscious breathing gives you space to observe the emotion rather than become entangled in it. Practice daily meditation or quiet reflection. This builds the muscle of awareness, making it easier to catch intense emotions early. When anger appears, try to track what triggered it, where you feel it, and what your thoughts arise without rushing to act or judge. Remind yourself that thoughts driven by anger are not absolute truths, but passing forms in your awareness. Many spiritual teachers emphasize that every episode of anger is a chance to deepen self-awareness. If you fail and act out anger, notice this response also with compassion. Each time you observe your reaction, even after the fact, you grow more skillful. In this way, Anger is transformed into an opportunity for awakening rather than a source of suffering. Finally, from a social awareness perspective, anger can be used constructively to drive meaningful action for social causes and planetary health when it is channeled with awareness, purpose, and responsibility. Transforming anger can be turned into positive action when it points to injustice or an urgent need for transformation in society or the environment. Recognizing this signal helps you identify where your values are being threatened and motivates you to address those issues rather than suppressing the emotion. This is where we are now in our world stage, determining once and for all what we will accept and what we will not accept, what we prefer and what we don't prefer. When harnessed properly, anger can fuel activism, leading protests, joining movements, advocating for systemic change, or supporting global campaigns for environmental protection. The key is to focus on solutions and collective action, not division or destruction. People who feel angry and empowered are more likely to organize, speak up, volunteer, and persist in social efforts. Assertive anger is directed at changing harmful practices rather than attacking individuals. Communicating your concerns clearly through writing, public speaking, or peaceful protests helps build bridges and enacts reforms without escalating conflict. If you are feeling anger in this way, use it as a force to clarify what matters most, energize personal growth, and create meaningful community connections. Be mindful that not all forms of anger are helpful. Inclusive anger rooted in care for universal justice and freedom is often transformative, while isolated and vindictive anger can be destructive. By consciously transforming anger into advocacy, compassion, and effective action, you can help drive positive change for the planet and society in deeply meaningful ways. So use this emotion to your advantage, not to your detriment. We'll be talking more about these and other topics in future episodes. And if there's anything that you would like me to discuss, or any questions you may have about things that I have shared, please feel free to mention it by leaving a question or a comment in the comment section. As always, if you have found any of this information at all helpful or enlightening, please do me a favor and like, subscribe, and share with others. I continue to be heartened by those of you who are coming to this space. I really appreciate it. And I hope you will adopt some of the practice outlined in this episode to better help you in managing and transforming anger into positive action. I hope you continue to let more people know about this podcast so that they can be a part of this ongoing movement to a oneness consciousness. So as always, I send you my love. And if we are one, let's all live in peace, love, and joy.